It Should Be a Crime is my second book. I think they have some copies of my first book on sale here also, truelesbianlove.com. Both books are set in Dallas, so you'll recognize a lot of the local landmarks. In each of them, I tried to use some different ones in each one so you wouldn't get bored. You can kind of use it as a tour around Dallas, a visitor's guide for your friends. I'll do anything to market a book. Well, almost anything. If you'd like, I prepared just a piece of It Should Be a Crime to read to you tonight if you're interested.
Yes, please.
All right, well, then I'll do it. You don't have to beg me. I'm a ham. This is just a short section. The book, the back cover kind of explains the general story. It is a mystery, but it's also a romance. I consider myself a romance writer, so my books are going to have two characters that are probably going to fall in love and live happily ever after. But on the way there, they're going to have a lot of trouble and tribulation, as lovers should, before they find the one. But this book also has a mystery tied into it as well. I am a criminal defense attorney during the day, so I got to use my day job as a research tool, so that was a lot of fun. All the legal aspects of the novel are things that really could happen. I try to be very authentic there, so while I might suspend a little reality in the romance part, the legal stuff's all right on the money. This book starts out, two women meet. They're strangers. They have a one-night fling. They expect never to meet again, and they do. And I'm going to talk about them meeting for, again, their second time. Parker Casey's a third-year law student at a imaginary university in Dallas. It really is imaginary. The one that's here didn't fit my parameters, so I made this one up out of my head. She's sitting in her advanced evidence practicum class with her best friend Dex, and that's how the story begins. Dex leaned over to Parker. "Did you hear who they finally signed to teach this class?" "No, I went to see the registrar about it this morning, but I didn't get in due to a long line of first years who were stalking her. I was going to tell her I didn't want to commit when I wasn't sure they even had a permanent instructor. Last I heard, Professor Wilson unexpectedly quit. I don't need the hours to graduate, and I can think of better things to do than take 6 hours from a fill-in professor. Quit bragging about all your extra hours. Some of us actually need this class. Besides, you're going to love the prof they got. Hell, she's famous." Parker raised her eyebrows, waiting for the name. Oh, here she is. You better sit up straight and stop talking so you can impress the pretty new teacher." Parker turned in her seat, looking in the direction Dex had been focused. Pretty was not an accurate description. Morgan was a knockout. Her wavy auburn hair trailed to her shoulders, and her emerald green eyes swept the room in crystal focus. Her height was accentuated by stylish pumps with 3-inch heels, and the hemline of her skirt showed off well-toned calves. Her suit was designer, with lines both soft and sharp, blending femininity and power in its russet silk threads. That's exactly how it reads. A shove to her side shook Parker from her reverie. Dex leaned close and whispered, "Close your mouth, Casey, you're starting to drool." She recovered enough to whisper with jagged breath, "She's the professor?" "Yep. Her name's Morgan Bradley. She's one of those hotshot attorneys who's always on court TV, commenting on cases like Michael Jackson and Enron." Dex was still talking, but Parker only heard Morgan Bradley. She'd certainly heard of the hotshot attorney in her high-profile cases, but she rarely watched television, and she wasn't sure she could have picked her out of a crowd. She had no doubt, though, the commanding presence standing a few feet away was the beautiful woman from the alley, who'd shared her bed for one night and lurked in her thoughts ever since. Confused and feeling strangely vulnerable herself, Parker waved off Dex's whispered fascination with the new professor and lowered her head. Flipping through pages of her notebook, she studiously avoided looking at the woman holding court in the front of the room. Willing herself to another place, she registered little of the words spoken by the professor. "Okay, class, I want us all to get to know each other. We'll be working in various combinations of groups throughout the semester. If you haven't already, you'll learn what it's like to work in teams when the stakes are the highest. And I'm not talking about your grades. I'm talking about the life and liberty of the person you've chosen to defend, or the right of the individual wronged to see that justice is done. This class will focus on evidence in criminal cases. If you want to focus on civil litigation, or you want an evidence course for your transcript so you can look well-rounded to future employers, this isn't for you. We'll be doing simulations of real case problems, all of them using real criminal cases as the basis for our studies. If you want a drop slip, see me after class. Now, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Dex poked Parker in the side. Wake up, darling. You're about to have to state your name, rank, and serial number. Parker stole a glance at Dex, then at the front of the room. Morgan was faced slightly away from her, focusing on the student at the other end of their row to start introductions. Furtive looks around the room revealed all escape possibilities were blocked. In mere moments, she'd have to face the woman she never expected to see again. The prospect was at once titillating and formidable. Years on the courtroom stage gave Morgan the skill to cloak her surprise behind knowing smiles. It happened to every defense attorney. Days of preparation were rendered useless the moment a witness took the stand and began to spin tales they made up as they went along. In court, Morgan would have a split second to decide whether to show or hide her surprise at being caught off guard. If she had evidence in reserve she could use to impeach the witness's credibility, a slow show of surprise might be a great effect. Really, Mr. So-and-so? Are you saying the defendant told you he killed the maid? She would exaggerate the question, reeling the witness in, getting them to totally commit to their answer, all the while waiting to whip out a series of written statements, stating conclusively the defendant had never confessed. On the other hand, sometimes the witness would pop off with a response she didn't expect and had no way of disproving. On those occasions, she found it was best to hold her surprise in check, never letting the jury know her composure had been seriously knocked down a notch. Glancing down the aisle past the student giving his name, Morgan realized she was about to face a situation requiring more composure than she'd ever been called upon to use in the courtroom. Dex Gallagher, third year, future U.S. Attorney of the Northern District of Texas. Well, nice to meet you, Mr. U.S. Attorney. Turning to Parker, Morgan felt herself pause longer than necessary before asking, "And you are?" As Parker turned to face her, Morgan nearly choked. There was no doubt in her mind. Whatever name this woman uttered, the mysterious woman from the bar who'd already introduced herself in ways Morgan should be blushing about. Feeling the heat rise to her cheeks, she willed it away, waiting to hear Parker's opening remarks. "Hi, Professor Bradley. My name's Parker Casey. I'm a third year. I hope my career path is as successful as yours." Her tone was easy and even, and she didn't bat an eye. "Did I hear?" Morgan wondered, a slight emphasis on the word professor. Not ready to break the connection, Morgan asked, "You want to be a law professor?" "I'll settle for high-powered criminal defense attorney." "Fair enough." Morgan paused, not ready to break contact either. "I'll do my best to share all of my skills." Oh my God, did I just say that? She must think I'm crazy standing up here acting like we've never met. This disconcerted feeling was unfamiliar to the experienced attorney. Unaware of how much time had passed, she moved on, hastening to minimize the appearance of discomfort. The rest of the class was a blur. Morgan went over the syllabus, divided the class into groups, and made the first assignment. Although she'd planned to let class out early on the first day, their freedom came sooner than she had originally intended. She remained at the front of the room as the students filed out, simultaneously hoping for and dreading an encounter with a certain dark-haired third year. As Parker walked toward her, she nearly jumped out of her skin at a voice behind her. "Professor Bradley, may I ask you a question?" Morgan reluctantly released her gaze in Parker's direction and turned toward the voice. She saw a young female student who seemed very excited to have her full attention. Sure. What can I do for you?" "Well, I was thinking about what you said at the beginning of class. I want to discuss whether to stay or drop. You see, I was thinking..." Morgan didn't hear the rest, focused as she was on the departing Parker. Even though she willed the connection, she was startled again when Parker reached the door of the classroom, turned, and shot her a slow, easy smile, searing in its implication. Morgan covered her surprise at the unexpected contact and returned the favor.